Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to cover a study that tells us when AEW Dynamite may defeat WWE Raw permanently in the ratings war.
WWE and AEW officials are angry at their wrestlers for messing about during this pandemic.
We got clarification on Ricochet's wrestling future, including his actual contract expiry date.
And Bayley wants in on the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
So we're going to kick things off with a big study Dave Meltzer has put together in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. This thing is huge. If you've got a subscription, it's a must-read. Talking about television ratings, talking about trends, changes in business, where certain shows are going. What he's done here is collected data from all of the major wrestling shows broadcast in the United States, with apologies to Impact Wrestling. That means Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Dynamite, of course. He's done this taking the numbers starting in November, and he's gone back to look at the week-to-week equivalents based on 12 months prior. So compare the first numbers, the numbers of the first week in November to the numbers of the first week in November 2019. Stuff like that, week-to-week comparisons. It's the best way to forecast changes, to identify trends, compare and contrast, and everything else. He has, however, been fair and kind of ruled out artificial numbers. An example of an artificial number would be the Brody Lee Memorial Show, which popped a huge one for AEW, things like Sting's debut as well. For WWE, you'd have Raw Legends nights because Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair drew those numbers, and say the 18th of December episode of SmackDown, which had an artificially high number due to a major NFL lead-in. He's comparing these weeks, like going back 1 year prior and following, going through this, doing this, compared to 2019, 2020, going back 1 year, Raw is down an average of about 24% in 18 to 49 and 19% in viewership, which is well above the average cable decrease of 8%. SmackDown's a bit healthier, down 16.7% in the demo, 7.7 in viewership. NXT down 37% in the 18 to 49 demographic, real aging audience problem there, but only 17.2 in viewership. AEW Dynamite is up. It's the only one of these shows that is up week to week going back 1 year. 20% in the 18 to 49 demographic and around 10% in overall viewership. Now, if you follow these trends, and trends can change, fans will return to arenas, that will have an impact. Lots of other things can happen. Unforeseen disasters can come out of nowhere and impact trends and set shows off in completely different directions. So there's no guarantee these trends will stay the same. But if they do, the study forecasts that by November or December 2022, AEW Dynamite beating Raw in the 18 to 49 demographic, which, as we've established before, is the most important figure when comparing and contrasting pro wrestling shows. If that happens, yes, November or December, Raw would be sitting on an average rating of 0.39 if its current decline continues. Dynamite would be up to an average of 0.43 if its current growth continues. SmackDown would still be the big show. It would still be sitting on an average 18 to 49 rating of about 0.5. That is, obviously down on where it is now, but it's still healthier than any other one. However, it's on network TV, not cable TV, which makes a big difference. This would put AEW in a great position when it comes to renegotiating their TV deal. If they can look at that and say, look, we're more valuable to you advertisers than Raw, that would put them in a great spot to secure greater rights fees and whatever else, score a better deal for themselves. Again, by all means, this isn't guaranteed to happen. It's not a prediction. It's just following a trend based on data that Dave Meltzer has put together here. Either way, I think it's really interesting. A lot of people don't like TV ratings. Fair enough. Just ignore them. But if you're someone who's interested in the business of pro wrestling, if you just want to be a fan and consume products, go for it. Enjoy everything. But if you're interested in the business of pro wrestling, this is really important stuff, because without TV rights fees, your favorite companies wouldn't exist. It's the most important source of revenue in pro wrestling. Adam Wilborn, I've waffled for 5 minutes straight there, pretty much, brother. Let me off the hook.
I think this is genuinely fascinating stuff. I can't imagine how much of a good mood Meltzer is in today, considering how much of a stats nerd that he is, collating all this information. The amount of times I've had to listen to him and Alvarez chatting about something, and whilst Alvarez is trying to talk about the match, Dave's there going, "I'll just check how long this match was." No one cares, Dave. Talk about the actual stuff that happened in the match. But anyway, yeah. Look, there will be people reacting to this in a variety of different ways. Oh, well, the numbers, the big numbers, the amount of viewers they actually get, it'll still be Raw trouncing AEW, and that's what we see, how we see people reacting when the numbers come out every single week for every single sodding show. But like you said, the 18 to 49 demographic is something that a lot of people overlook. That is the most crucial thing here. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they are trending in this direction.
Yeah.
I preferred this report when Andy Murray gave it to me about 6 months ago, if I'm perfectly honest. But it is something that I am not really surprised about. You just look at the numbers spiraling down, less so for SmackDown, but certainly for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And I realise I say this whenever we talk about anything relating to poor ratings for Monday Night Raw. But I genuinely hope this will be a catalyst for change, because this isn't just, oh, the numbers are a bit crap. Oh, this week's numbers are a bit crap. That week's numbers are a bit crap. This is a genuine, understandable projection that makes sense, that takes into account all the different information, as you mentioned, misses out when you just hoy a load of legends out there, or if people want to complain, when Dynamite just decides to pop a huge rating by putting a pay-per-view effectively on TV. This is just week to week, your basic TV show, and it should really light a fire under WWE, because this is serious. This is, a year and a half's time, slightly over that, but, generally, 20 months' time, for example, they could be in the mud, as the people like to say on Twitter.
Yeah, but I love perusing Brian Alvarez's mentions when he does the ratings tweet on a Wednesday night, because it's just a procession of people I've blocked. Yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff goes around surrounding ratings, but yeah, genuinely interesting stuff from Dave. I find this stuff fascinating. I love following it. If you don't, fair enough, but it's important.
I want both shows to do brilliantly. I have no bias here. We don't have any bias here at WhatCulture. People may accuse us of leaning towards one way or another, and some things are subjective. Michael Sidgwick, for example, clearly enjoys AEW more than he enjoys WWE. But then to counterbalance that, we've got the other Dadley boy. We've got Hamflet, who probably prefers WWE to it. We'd love both shows to be doing a 4 in the 18 to 49 demographic. I was listening back to Alvarez's rant ages ago about Impact, saying that, when wrestling does well, we do well.
Yeah.
So we'd like them both to be doing well. And I just, like I say, I just hope that people switch onto this, don't roll their eyes and go, oh, well, we're still doing a bigger number than from them. And that's miles away, November 2022. It's not. And they need to make changes, because you can't just keep going, oh, we're doing crap in the ratings and the networks are getting pissed off. Let's just hoist some legend out there. Because as you mentioned, when these TV deals expire or the renegotiations come up, chances are AEW may well blow WWE out of the water. We'll keep an eye on this, and I'd love to know everyone's thoughts on this in the comments section below. We talked a lot about that, so we'll fly through our final 3 stories. My first one today is about WWE and AEW officials pissed off with their wrestlers basically for arsing about during the pandemic. This is a quote from The Observer from Meltzer saying, "I do know that in both WWE and AEW privately," and Triple H has said this publicly as well, they've talked about talent that is too cavalier attending large parties, still going out, since so many of them live in Florida, and wrestlers from more companies often get together and socialise, and that can cause spread throughout the business. There are AEW WWE couples and at least one WWE Impact couple. Triple H on a press call a few months back noted in frustration that a lot of talent thinks we're over it, and we're not over it. We've seen this week, for example, the WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, has tested positive. It's really concerning. We talk about this a lot, and we always talk about just staying safe. The problem is, I think, Andy, is they probably have this air of invincibility about themselves. A, because they're probably going to be fine. They are fit and well athletes at the end of the day. The concern is they can spread it to other people, as we talk about all the time. And you should still, as much as they are sweating and wrestling with each other on a weekly basis, you should still try to minimise all contact outside of that. And a bit like we've seen with football stars here in the UK, they're not really paying that much attention to that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, literally the only way we're going to get past this thing until people get vaccinated is to follow the goddamn regulations and stay apart and not mingle and wear masks and socially distance and everything. So, it was kind of rough to see all these photos of like wrestlers' New Year party from different companies and stuff, from different bubbles emerging like a few weeks ago. Look, it's hard. It's really hard for everyone at the moment, and wrestlers are no different to that. And it's very understandable that, they have an urge to do social stuff, but I empathize, something thighs, chicken thighs, with the promoters here. I'm on their boat. Speaking about boats, they often ricochet. An update from the Wrestling Observer newsletter on Ricochet. Earlier this week, we had the story, of course, suggesting that he might be on his way out of the WWE if his contract expired, if he was still on his original WWE contract, which would have expired later this month. We did say that on the video. There hasn't been reports of him signing a new one. But Dave Meltzer has revealed today that he did sign a new one, seemingly quietly when he was called up to the main roster. His contract now expires in the summer of 2014. He's going nowhere. That was a 5-year deal signed in 2019. He's there till 2024. Yeah, Ricochet's been on Twitter saying, lads, fake stuff. So fair enough. He did sign a new contract. He's sticking around. An end to that one.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I hope this is a catalyst for change with WWE, i.e. they saw all the reaction to people speculating about the future of Ricochet, where he should go, how much WWE have mismanaged him since he moved up to the main roster, and fix it. Because he is, yes, not the best promo, but hide the negatives, accentuate the positives. You have one of the best rosters in history, WWE. How are you ballsing this up? Look at what he did. Look at that clip with him and Velveteen Dream when he flipped out That's all he did. And everyone went mental. He's so good. Just wipe the slate clean. Stop having him feud with the Hurt Business and sodding Retribution. Just give him some victories and try and make people forget about that match at Super Showdown because he's so good. I don't know why I have to keep saying this. Let's conclude by talking about Bayley. Another case of WWE ballsing things up for years and then finally going, oh, actually, she's quite good, isn't she? She wants in on the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. They're, of course, doing a women's version of that. Only 4 teams confirmed from it, but Bayley was tweeting directly at Triple H, saying that she wants to be a part of it. The first week of the women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, we saw the men's starting this week, starts next week. Teams like Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. Hey, look, an actual women's tag team. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, and Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm actually facing Catanzaro and Carter, I believe, next week on NXT. But yeah, former women's tag team champion. I'd love to see her be part of this because they clearly aren't really doing a lot with her aside from presumably letting Bianca Belair beat her a few times on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, good move. Add a bit of star power, had a bit of name recognition. Find a good partner for her, I'm in.
I thought you were going to volunteer to be the partner for a split second there.
Why not?
Let us know your thoughts on all the stories we've discussed, though, and we'll move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Matt Ryan starts us off saying, Happy Friday to all. Happy Friday, everyone. Aside from the Royal Rumble matches themselves, what are some of the best matches from the pay-per-view? 2 that come to mind are Becky, Asuka last year, and, of course, Triple H, Cactus Jack.
Triple H Cactus Jack is one of my favourite wrestling matches of all time. Shoutouts for mentioning that. How about Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins and John Cena from a few years ago? WWE just put that up for free on their YouTube channel, so even if you don't have the network, go and visit that now. Classic match, all action, 3 distinct personalities with 3 distinct styles. Great stuff.
Yeah, I love that match. Lesnar, Cena, Rollins popped into my head as well. Obviously, Triple H, Cactus Jack, and Becky Asuka, all great shouts. I'd also give a nod to Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks from a few years ago, just because it was a really good war, and you genuinely thought for a split second, maybe Ronda's going to lose. She didn't, of course, but it was a really enjoyable match, and hopefully, actually, I quite liked Finn Balor, Brock Lesnar, even though that was a foregone conclusion. Right, next question comes from Chris2 on Twitter. He says, Hi, legends. If there was one match you could reverse the decision that would have changed everything, what would it be? I personally would have had Wade Barrett become WWE champion when he faced Cena All the best to Sidge. I presume he means all the best to Hamflett, and also he means when Barrett faced Orton with Cena. But I get where you're coming from, Chris, too. Yeah, obviously Wade Barrett should have been WWE champion. What decision would you change, Andy?
Two pop to mind eventually, and I'm sure you could find bigger historical examples than this. But thinking of Wade Barrett, the Nexus match at SummerSlam.
Yes.
And also Asuka versus Charlotte at that WrestleMania, I thought was quite harmful as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, on very recent memory, Becky versus Shayna Baszler. Why on earth wouldn't you have Shayna Baszler win the title when Becky's going off to have a kid anyway? Ridiculous, and look at where Shayna Baszler is now. And speaking of that, WrestleMania 34, I believe that was, Andy? You were talking about with Asuka and Charlotte?
Numbers.
I think so.
I've got a head like Swiss cheese when it comes to numbers, man.
I'll pick Shinsuke versus AJ because it's only now you're getting the resurgence of Shinsuke Nakamura, and he was so hot then. Yeah. Just saw the buzz around him last Friday after SmackDown and realised, they probably should have put the world title on him. So but let us know your thoughts, because I'm sure there's a whole host of matches that should have gone the other way in the comment section. Final question today comes from Heath Davis, who sort of cheated and squeezed in 3 questions. He says, Yo, Adam, with the implosion of the Inner Circle imminent, who will be the biggest breakout single star? Do you think they will leave the belt on Darby until they are ready to push him for the World Championship? And when will the Iconics come back?
Oh my goodness. Triple threat header question. I'm going to give you real short answers. MJF, Ricky Starks is beating Darby Allin for the TNT title at Revolution, and never. There we go.
Don't say things like that. I'll agree with you though. MJF, although I think Sammy Guevara is going to carve out a nice niche for himself, and Wardlow, all of them basically, I think they're going to do brilliantly when they have this huge split, and Santana and Ortiz are seemingly ready for their tag team push as well. I think Darby's probably going to hold it for quite some time. Certainly until proper fans are back, in my opinion. But I could also see Ricky Starks, gorgeous man that he is, taking that title off him in a month or two. And the Iconics, they'll reunite at the Rumble, I reckon, in a moment. But for a full reunion, oh God, we just have to wish upon a star and wait and see for that one. Let's move on to today's and finally, and a nod to Kurt Angle from Arsenal Football Club last night, them playing his classic "You Suck" entrance theme at their home stadium. Weird this, although they did suck, they drew against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So nice to see that. Always great to see wrestling themes in weird situations you don't expect them, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like Arsenal do kind of suck, so there you go.
I can't say anything about that because I'm a Chesterfield fan, and we're getting better. We're getting better. Let us know your thoughts on that, or probably more importantly on the whole AEW WWE situation in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and Sidgwick sitting down to preview SmackDown later, and of course WrestleCulture with a bloody good quiz. You can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. While you're there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday to the best in the world, Shane McMahon. And Bull Buchanan. There we go. Jesus.
B squared. Happy birthday, Shane and Bull. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. I'm doing his dance.